Good morning. Thank you for tuning in to another pre-market pulse scan. This video is for trading on Tuesday, January the 24th, 2017. The time now is approximately 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Jumping right into the pre-market trading, we have the Dow futures up 11 points right now. Last trade is 19,747, up 12 points. It did come up to 19,759 and a low of 19,718, which is an extremely tight trading range for the Dow, even for the overnight market. The emini nasdaq 100 currently is up 8.25 points at 50.72. The high of the overnight was 50.72 1/4, and the low was 50.60. And in addition to that, let's see here. Give me just a second. All right, let's see. E-mini S&P 500. The E-mini S&P is up just under 2 points. It's up 1 3/4 points at 22.63 3/4. The high was 22.64 1/4, and the low 22.59 1/2. And the Russell is up 4 points at 13.51.40, and the high was 13.51.80, and the low was 13.45 1/2. Looking at the Nikkei, down 10 points at 18,930. The overnight high was 18,950, the low 18,810. Looking at crude oil, it's up now about 30 cents at $53.05. The high was $53.30 and the low $52.67.5. All right, the US dollar, interesting. Trading above par, up 8 ticks at par 21. The high was par 39.5, the low 99.88.5. Looking at the euro, it is up 2 pips at 107.70. The high was 107.94, and the low was 107.47. Looking at the pound, it's down 42 pips at 124.72. The high was 125.57, the low 124.33. And the Aussie, right now, it's up a pip at 75.67. The high was 76.04, the low 75.44. And gold is down $1.80 at 12.13.80. The high was 12.20.10, the low 12.11.20. And silver off about a penny or two. It's at $17.17. The high was $17.26.5. The low $17.10.5. So we can see that gold is giving back some of yesterday's gains, which is to be expected. Going forward, the market is still pretty strong. You can see here on the daily right now, it's still above its momentum trend line support. On the daily chart, on the weekly chart, you can see it is also, it's bumping up against the current resistance level of around 12, 15, 20. And right here, it's oscillating between the bottom of the Kumo cloud and just slightly inside of it. So this bottom of the Kumo cloud is acting as a really strong resistance moving forward right now. So again, that's to be expected. We don't know if we're going to make that run to the 1230s or not. It would be nice to get into the 1230s and to close there, at least on the weekly. That will give us a nice support, closing above the trend line resistance, making that resistance new support, and then that could help to push prices outside of the cloud, get up above the ramp, and then we'll be sitting pretty to get to March to 1400. That's still a lot, but that is the trajectory that we're looking for right now. What can derail that? The thing that can derail that right now is for prices to fail to close above the first line of resistance. Again, the 1200, 1210, 1215 level is acting as really strong resistance. So we're going to need at least, maybe we'll give it 2 weeks. So we'll give it this week, and then we'll give it one more week to see what can be done. Can this market push out or not? And that's going to be the real caveat, the real question to see what can happen. All right, now looking at this morning's pulse waves, we do have a few of them to take a look at this morning. And right now we have approximately, I want to say, hold on, looks like we have about 10 or so of our rally alerts on the daily. And we have it in the cocoa futures, we have it in the SQQQ, we have it in DRIP, we have it in TMF, TYD, and we also have it in GMUI, which is Gold Mining USA, URRE, EMKR, and we also have it in sugar futures. So 2 futures contracts, sugar and cocoa futures, have rally alerts today. As far as our overbought, oversold, we're looking at the TLT, which I'm surprised, and Facebook. All right, so they could be ready to bounce. I can tell you right now, looking at bonds, the 30-year bond is down about 17 right now, so I don't see that happening. At least not right now. Maybe after the first hour of trading, it may try to make a run, but as of right now, I just don't see that happening. But bonds have been interesting. As you know, bonds are the most heavily manipulated market by the Fed, and it has been for several years because the bond market has been extremely and extraordinarily vulnerable. So the Fed has had to go in there and buy up bonds every month, just like clockwork. In addition to that, the Fed has been very busy propping up the US dollar and also propping up the stock market by way of raising money and raising funds by selling the paper market and the gold paper, gold and silver, smashing those futures contracts. So we have a lot of different things playing around in the mix. We have this $1 trillion+ of money on the sidelines waiting to enter into the gold market. And they're going to be entering into the paper market. I can't stress that part enough. When we start looking at the Islamic community coming into the gold market, we're really talking about the paper market, because the paper market is the only way that they can devise instruments that are able to come in and operate the way they need it to operate according to their Sharia laws and things of that nature. So we're just looking at just an awful amount of long dollars, if you will, chasing after the gold paper market. So you can expect them to get long the paper. I don't see how they're going to be able to do anything but buy at this point. So it's going to be interesting how they make these up, but just understand that whatever derivative vehicle they create, again, it's a derivative, which means its value is going to have to be derived from the futures market, because we're talking about commodities and or currencies, and those are derived from the forex and the futures markets. Even the equity products derive their value based on the spot markets, the futures markets, and the forex markets. So just remember that going forward. All right, we do have several securities also of note that are in the Kumo cloud according to the algorithmic processes. If you look at the chart too, this gold chart that I have up in front of you, you will note that it is also the case. And like I mentioned in our excuse me, previous webinar, there are times where the algorithmic processes and the charts themselves will come into alignment. But the majority of the time, the algorithmic processes and the charts are not in alignment. So we may be talking about a security, and I will tell you, it's in a bear market or bull market, and you look at a chart and say, hey, the chart is saying something different, because the algorithmic processes are not necessarily going to be in alignment with your charts. The algorithmic processes overrule whatever you see on your chart, and that's just how that always operates. So of note, we do have some Kumo Cloud securities to take a look at here. The first main one being the gold futures, and you do see that coming into being right now. I also need to make a note that at the current price right now, we're at 1214.20. We have a line in the sand. You may not see this on your sheet. So this is something that I've been watching and working on, and once I have made my final decision after I get out of the lab later on today, then I'll address it further with you. But I'm looking at some intraday things that we talked about in the last webinar with how to plot your stop losses and things of that nature. If those of you who missed that webinar, it is available for you at the Learning Academy, and it is titled Stop Losses and Options, Strategies and Techniques, because we did go over that in the same thing. So just check that out. All right, so Kumo Cloud Securities is gold futures, ticker DGP, the euro currency, GDXJ and GLD. So we're looking at the gold complex here. GLTR, JNUG and Nugget, Pretty Ricky, SIL, TMV, and UGL, and UGLD. So these are in the Kumo Cloud space. So primarily we're looking at gold and gold miners. So we're looking at the gold sector as being in the Kumo Cloud of Death. For those of you who do not know the rules of the Kumo Cloud of Death, the Kumo Cloud of Death is labeled that because within that consolidation phase is what we mean when we say that prices are trading within the Kumo Cloud. What that generally means is that you cannot trust the price action. It is prone to whipsaws and breaking out of the cloud and breaking down below the cloud, and it can do it sometimes simultaneously. So that's what we mean when we say that a security is trading within the Kumo Cloud of Death. However, the algorithmic processes on the weekly pulse wave price triggers has a schematic to not only manipulate but also take advantage of that and break down the prevailing overall trend within a Kumo Cloud cycle so that you're able to still trade that. Traditionally, you would stand aside if a security was trading within the Kumo Cloud, and you would wait for confirmation of which way it breaks out, either up or down. And now that is no longer the case. You no longer have to stand on the sidelines to make that happen. All right, excuse me, moving along. We have some crash alerts now to look at for the day. Excuse me. Okay, on the crash alert side, we have gas L, we have UCO, we have CCJ, TYO, we have the NASDAQ cash index as well as the QQQ and the TQQQ. We have UEC, we have the Euro Yen, which tracks with the stock market. We have Bitcoin, the ETF, which tracks the Bitcoin. We have Gush, we have the inverse bond ETF TBT. We have Yang, which looks at the the China index, and we have feeder cattle futures. We have Netflix, we have Robo, we have Pretty Ricky, and we have TMV. Now, the thing about the euro yen, I want to touch on just the forex just for a minute. Um, when you're looking at the forex, for me personally, I don't trade, all the different hundreds of pairs. I break mine down just to a handful that, for the most part, track very well with the commodities. So you're always gonna hear me talk about the euro yen. You're gonna hear me talk about the Aussie. You're gonna hear me talk about the Canadian dollar. You're gonna hear me talking about the British pound, and then of course the euro and the Japanese yen. For the most part, that's all I watch. I don't need to watch and trade anything else because those are going to move in concert with the commodities, such as gold and crude oil. And that's pretty much all you need at that point. Another note, if you did not see last night's end of day report, I will encourage you to do that. It is up on YouTube. Um, I do talk about the stock indexes a little bit, and I'll repeat a little bit of that here. Basically, there's been a lot of talk about, stock market correction or gold prices correcting and falling down. I do not toe the line. All right, I'm not going to just agree with all the talking heads because it's popular to do, and you can get more views and more people following you or whatever. This is not a popularity contest for me. I could care less. I'm gonna speak my mind. I'm gonna tell you like it is. And according to the algorithms, I don't see that really happening. Now we do have crash alerts on the NASDAQ 100 side of things, so you're gonna want to watch that. But it should be noted that I don't necessarily have a crash alert on the future side. Yes, I have it on the cash index. And for those of you who remember the other tutorials talking about strategies and techniques for trading the stock index futures, well, you know what that means when I say on the cash index side of things, there's a crash alert. So I want you to take a look at where the price trigger is in the NASDAQ 100. And at the end of this video, when we do our webinar portion today, we're going to go over some of that because I don't want you to miss what may take place today. So with that said, let's see what happens going forward. Remember, bulls make money, bears make money, and pigs get slaughtered. So remember to take what you can and give absolutely nothing back to the greedy market. The rest of you, we will continue. YouTube, I will see you with today's end of day report.